Makyam, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone who teach and rule well, and Shalom to the sincere Akyam, spreading this truth and sincerity. Shalom. So today I just got a reality check, man. And it was kind of like, man. I was like, man, sometimes I be complaining about, the way that my life is, right? But today I got basically, chin check, because I decided to basically, visit, an old colleague of mine who was, also a friend of mine. The first time that I went to his house and, his family and everything. And, we got to talking, right? And then he, spoke about, his living situation and his financial situation and everything. And that was basically the chin check that made me realize, like, man, sometimes I be complaining about the way that my life, is, but actually the way that my life is, I should actually be grateful, man. Compared to him, because we know that, it says in the book of, if I'm correct, it was 1 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 13, that there hath no temptation basically no temptation basically comes in our life but such as is common to man. So the situations that we might be ending up in, are situations that the heathen or other people also, are able to basically be put in by the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, right? Nay. So, long story short, he said that he basically was in this program that gives him 130 euros a week to live off, and then the rest of his paycheck is being distributed amongst his debts and amongst his living expenses, right? Besides the groceries. He explained to me that the debt that he had, is roughly 60,000, and that was basically, the whole situation that he spoke about was like that chin check, man. Like, I know that I'm living with my parents, due to circumstances. I know that, I'm not balling, but I don't really have financial issues like that, man. So compared to him, I actually, have a pretty decent life, man. To the point that I'd be like, man, I might even be Benjamin, man. Most High, is taking care of me in such a good way. But, through the Spirit, I do believe that I'm God. But sometimes when I be looking at my life, I'd be like, man, the Heavenly Father really has some mercy, towards me, man. So that really was that chin check, man. And we also got to talking about, my former employer and the employer that he still works for, and that I had a conversation with the guy recently, and then he told me about how the employer actually is helping him out and things like that. And I was like, yeah, they're actually pretty decent concerning things like that. But, when it concerns me, certain things was just not done properly and in the right way. So I was like, man, it's better for me to just dip, But he basically has, if time goes on, and things will unfold after, his whole situation with the finances and everything, he has an opportunity to basically climb the ranks within the company as well, So also, me observing his situation, he's brought down very low right now by the Heavenly Father, man. Very low, man. But after he comes out of that, he has some opportunities that are laid up for him, man. But I don't want to digress too much. But the point of the matter is, I was basically chin checked, man. I was like, man, the way that he lives his life right now with his family, his wife, she's pretty much in check because he's a Muslim, right? His children, of course, he has 3 boys in one house every single day, so he has got his issues going on. Living in an elderly neighborhood, to say it like that, where the people are basically getting older and getting older, but he is one of the youngest in the street. Together with his family, so he's got his issues going on with that as well. But this man, he's a smart dude, man. He's a smart dude, so I know that he's gonna get out of that situation as well. Moving his way up. But as of now, man, this guy is being brought low by the Heavenly Father, man. And I was like, man, I was like this, as I was sitting with him, talking about that situation, and it came unexpectedly, man. But it did, put it in my mind, like, man, there's a reason that I had that conversation with him, to basically, show me as well, like, man, I should be grateful for what I have, and also with other things and other aspects in my life. It might not be, the way that I really envision those type of things to really have them in my life. But I have them in my life. I have the opportunity to have those things in my life. Might not be, because you'll be like, man, if let's say, you wanna buy brand clothing, right? You wanna buy the A+ type of brand clothing, right? But you basically have the C or the B type of clothing on your body, which that basically clothes you, keeps you warm, it covers you, but you're still looking towards that A+ brand, right? Because you want that, you desire that, but you forget about the fact that you already have this clothing on, man. And I'm sometimes I be observing, and that's what I'm doing lately, looking at certain things in my life. I'd be like, man, I have things that I want. It might not be the A+, but I have the C or the B version of it, and I'm still enjoying, that which I have, which that is something that I should be grateful for as well. Might be second hand, might be third hand. Might not be the way that I envisioned it or the way that I wanted it to have in my life, but the Heavenly Father still takes care of me. He provides me with the necessities. He gives me my pleasures left and right. My enjoyments to enjoy. Things to get my mind off. The daily affairs of life. So yeah. Thinking about those type of things and having the conversation that I have had today, with my former colleague and friend, it did make me realize, like, man, we should be grateful for the things that we have, and not be ungrateful for the things that we don't have, even though we have certain things that, we already have been given, which sometimes that is very difficult, man. Because you're always, in a situation that because it's like this, right? And right now, I can give the example of, my current job, for instance. The current job that I have, I'm sick and tired of the job, man. The way that it's being run, the way that it's being done, every time that I see colleagues of old, and I just recently, like today, as I was in front of my house, an old colleague of mine that I used to work with at another company when I was hired to the DNO, the district network operator. He walks by. I say, "Hey, how's everything going at State Inn?" He turns around and he recognizes me, and I talk to him. I say, the field that we work in, a lot of money can be made, but the environment that is basically within that, it just basically messes it up, man. It's an environment that I don't really want to live or work in, man. You know what I mean? And everybody that I speak to from the past or that I speak to currently, they acknowledge the same things, that it is not a joyful or fun place to basically, make a living, you know? Because of the high expectations, the low preparations, everything combined together, you're just not being able to do the work properly, man. The type of people that you work with, the basically, when I worked for Amalek, there's a lot of macho type of behavior amongst Amalekites, man. Showing how manly they are, and I'd be like, man, get the fuck out of here, man. I don't give a hoot nanny about all those type of things. Just let me do my job. Help me, to enjoy this job to the best of my ability without you, you know, being an asshole. So take that job that I just described, and now me trying to, as soon as possible, get out of that field. Meanwhile, the recognition and the acknowledgement has to be there that I have a job that actually pays well, that pays very well, actually, and that is something that I should be grateful for, that I still have a job that pays me very well, or, you know, meanwhile, other people don't have a job, which I understand, they have their lot, they have their things going on. But to the best of my ability, I still try to help those, that have less, to the best of my abilities with the means that I have, to basically, make sure that I'm not only thinking about myself, right, to the best of my ability. So the part is, we should be grateful for the things that we already currently have. But because we are in the flesh, we're constantly busy with the things that we want to have, or that we think that the moment that we have it, everything's going to be better. But it's not going to be better, because then the next bullshit is basically going to pop off and that type of thing. Because that's always what's going to happen. It's the same thing when you try to escape, a country, go live somewhere else. Don't think that, the trials and tribulations are not going to follow you. They're still going to be there. They're still going to be there, man. Because we are assigned to these trials and tribulations, man. That's part of our lot. That's the part of, our heritage, to say it like that. We have to, walk that path to enter into the kingdom. But we should still be mindful of the things that we have already been given by the Heavenly Father, even though it might not be the thing that we actually want or that we actually desire, right? We should also have that mindset, like I'm grateful and thankful that I already have, what I have been given. An example concerning that is, as some of y'all know, I really like motorcycles. Not literally the thrill, but just being on the road by myself, making some action over here and there without, putting my life in jeopardy, But I enjoy motorcycles, whether that is a cruiser or a chopper, whether that is an adventure bike, whether it's a naked style bike, whether it is a super sport. I enjoy these type of bikes. I also have, multiple bikes. But so far I only have second-hand bikes. I have a new bike coming in because of my transition to a new job field, to a new job. I want to have a new motorcycle that fits, that job. So I can now look at my situation and be like, man, I only have second-hand bikes. Or I can be like, hey, I have multiple bikes. They're second or third hand, but I can enjoy them to the fullest. You know, might not be the newest ones, but I enjoy them. I like them. I have fun. And that's part of being grateful. Grateful for what you have. Being proud for what you have. You know, and enjoy that, man. You know, that is very, very beautiful mindset to have, man. You know, and the conversation that I had today with my former colleague, you know, was that, man. And when you talk with this guy, he's down to earth. You know, he makes right decisions. You know, he said that he effed up in the past, which, yeah, he did. You know, but he's trying to better himself and for his family, man. You know, so yeah, you know, we gotta be grateful for the things that we already have, even though it might not be things that we actually, you know, even though it might not be how we wanted, how we would have wanted it to, you know, be or turned out. You know, that's actually a beautiful mindset to have, man. So yeah, with that, I do, you know, wanna, you know, give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone who teach and rule well, and shalom to the sincere Akim, spirit of truth and sincerity. Shalom.